Welcome to the Team Lally Real Estate Show, home of the Guaranteed Sold program, or we'll buy it. If you have any questions, just give us a call at 799-9596 or check us out online at teamlally.com.
Well, hey, everybody. This is that art part of the show. What is that, Adrienne?
That is Attilio's Random Thoughts.
So a couple things. You can always call us and give us a question you want us to answer online on the show, 799-9596. And you can also listen to us every Saturday on AM 830 KHVH.
You could also email any kind of questions, info@teamlally.com, and we will read your question and answer it on air.
Yeah, and feel free to call or email us with any questions or concerns that you got. If you're thinking about selling, thinking about buying, got any real estate related questions, or maybe just life in general. Because what I want to talk about today is a lot of times the best advice that we don't follow, it's
our own.
Is our own advice, because this is the day and age that we are in, folks. So Tony Robbins talked about it in his book. Gary Keller, founder of Keller Williams, 20th wealthiest guy in the U.S., doesn't have to do this anymore, but he leads this organization to keep pouring into his agents with Keller Williams. And so, by the way, if you're with another brokerage and you want a confidential conversation with Adrienne and myself to see why we're part of KW, just give us a call, 799-9596.
And we both have our broker's license.
Yeah, we both have our broker's license. We could be independent and running our own game show.
Yeah.
Well, we decide to do the prices right with we do the prices right with Keller Williams, because there's just it's such a big organization to be plugged in. That's I would say like more of an entrepreneurial business ownership, life worth living, experiences worth having, people you want to be in business with, and no grumpy people allowed. No, we got grumpy people with Keller Williams, but that's not the culture or the mindset. So what was I talking about? The advice that we have.
Tony Robbins. We're talking about Tony Robbins.
Yeah. So we were. That was our homework. Read that book before family reunion. It's not 15,000 people that are related to each other. It's just what we call our annual convention for Keller Williams.
One of the things I noticed about the book was that because I've gone to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power. Yeah. And it feels like a lot of the content from Unleash the Power is in that book.
Is in the book.
So maybe it started with the book, and then he created that experience around what he was sharing.
Well, before the Middle Ages, and by the time we had created books, and then before technology, that's how you got around other people, was through books.
Yes.
And it's still a great way to get around other people and self-reflect and go inside and read something without 10 million distractions. And for more than the attention span of a 15-second TikTok video. So here's the beginning part of that book. And he talks about, he basically starts off with the discussion of power. And I don't mean power like you're Dr. Evil sitting underneath an extinct volcano trying to figure out
the name of this
how to take over the world.
What is it? It's Unlimited Power?
Unlimited Power.
By Tony Robbins. I think he wrote it somewhere like in the 90s. I feel like it's kind of an older book.
Yeah. So where he goes, he talks about man's accumulation of power and how we did that. Back in the beginning, if you were the biggest, baddest caveman in the village and you kicked everybody's okole, then that was power through physicality. And, King Kamehameha did that and unified the islands, because he was like 6-something, and he was a pretty formidable person physically. And then after that was, if you were part of the family, you were born into that. Mm-hmm. And so if you were born, a blacksmith, that's probably what you would die as, and you would be multiple generation with that, and you wouldn't necessarily be marrying a prince. And then, so we were born into it, and that's where the alignment of power came. And then from the royalty, French Revolution, all of that good stuff. The commoners, the common people were tired of just hearing the royalty so disconnected with them to go eat cake. Let them eat cake is the quote. And chopped off all their heads, and that was an overthrow of the French Revolution and other revolutions around the world. So that was a power dynamic shift. Next was the industrial age. And so if you were able to accumulate resources, you gain power through the industrial age, and you could come from nothing. and be a lot of these wealthy people that they call them nouveau riche. Do you know what that means?
The new rich.
The new rich.
Not the old money.
Yeah, not old money.
The new money.
Self-made multimillionaires, and it's still happening today.
Yes.
But what is the new resources today is not knowledge by itself, because you can Google the answer to pretty much 99.9% of any questions you might have and come across multiple resources telling you what the information or the answer is. And even if you don't want to Google it, you can chat GBT it and not only have an answer, but a summary. So where he's saying the new power is in specialized knowledge. And specialized knowledge means you know a lot about something, and then you're acting upon it and providing a product or service that is desirable by the marketplace. So that's where we're at today. And what is the product or service and the experts' knowledge that we are providing to our customers, our clients?
Well, that would be in real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate, the strategies.
Yeah.
In building wealth through real estate. And we've talked about this before, as far as like being more of a consultant.
Yeah.
And sometimes the advice and the strategy that we're going to give you is to hold on to the property.
Yeah.
It's not time to sell yet.
You know, we've been talking with some good friends of ours. I'm going to say their names, but they live here in Oahu, and they own 30, 40 properties, and they've been accumulating properties for the last 20 plus years, and they fix them up, manage them up, and do all of that. But there's a key ingredient that they're missing, and that is called having a life.
Yes.
And so the conversation we're having with them, with circling back on selling one of the properties, is that maybe take a look at this option of selling your property, doing a 1031 and getting into a DST, so that you still have the growth and the income, less
the
headaches of direct management. And by the way, Adrienne and I are personally, we never give advice we don't follow ourselves. We're personally invested in. I think is the one that there's one you're in, and then there's the one we're both in. Is the one we're both in storage?
Yes,
storage,
I love storage. And then we're also part of a storage fund. Like it's like a syndicate.
Like a syndicate.
Yes.
Yeah,
we just love storage.
What are we part owners in? I don't know. How many storage facilities? 4 or 5?
A lot. Oh, there's 4 in that fund. And then
okay.
the DST, I believe, I don't know how many storage facilities. There's a lot
across multiple states.
Yes. And we love storage because we know that people, they just love stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to, continue to pay for their storage
Andy
unit.
Andy Bumatai, he does this bit where he's interviewing this guy from Africa, and he's like, "Oh, what is that building over there?" And then he's like, "Oh, that is where we put our things." "Oh, but it looks like an apartment building." Yes, I could say it's an apartment for our stuff, and I pay extra because I want my stuff to have a view and air conditioning. You put stuff in an apartment, and they're coming from
they don't have
some other country where they're barely trying to get people
in apartments,
into apartments, let alone all the junk that if I asked everybody, give me an itemized list of what you got in there, I guarantee you 99.9% of you have no idea what you even have in there.
Yeah, I have an embarrassing story to share about my storage. When I joined the Army, since I was single at the time, they only let me ship over like a small amount, and then the rest of it was put in a storage unit.
Yeah.
And so when I got out of the Army, I had to had to figure out how to get my stuff because it was in another state. I didn't go back to Florida, and honestly, I didn't really remember what was actually in the storage facility, and so I just let it lapse. And then someone got my stuff, probably on an auction.
It's the same concept when you go to a restaurant and they give you this massive amount of food and you can't eat it all. And then the lady's like, "Do you want me to bring you a box for that?" And I'm like, "Yes. I wanted to put it in a to-go container so that I can take it home and throw it away later after it all dries out and rots out." And you guys are laughing because all of you do that. And it's the same thing. You might also go up to the front desk person at the storage facility and say, "Oh, what are you going to be storing, or what size unit do you need?" "Well, I need a 10 by 10 so that I can store all this stuff that I'm going to forget about and keep paying for to be here for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. That would be the honest truth. Now, storage facility people, you're like, "Oh, man, you're getting down on this stuff and nobody's going to want to store their stuff." Nope, we know human nature.
We're going to keep storing it. That's why we're invested in it.
You know why I know there's always going to be stuff in those storage facilities? Because up and down my neighborhood, and every neighborhood, you're still seeing Amazon boxes showing up on everybody's doorstep every other day. So Thank you to Amazon for front loading what ultimately is going to end up in all your storage facilities. By the way, when you sit down to sell your home with us, we're going to tell you to do a couple of things with the things in your home. Number one, declutter. And what's our general rule of thumb for every room?
Reduce it by at least 1/3 in every room.
Just go in the room and say 30% of this stuff needs to go, snap your fingers and be gone to create spaciousness and more of an open look. And then stage stuff in the garage.
Or sell it, have a garage sale.
But before you do that, dump it, donate it, garage sale it, Craigslist.
Or your favorite free garage sale.
Free garage sale. I did one of those. Literally, I just was like, people would come by and they're like, what, is this some scam or something? Or is this a YouTube video? I'm like, no,
you're going to prank me?
It's free. You want that? You touch it, you take it.
I know. Like, one time you free garage sale my Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I was not happy about that.
I had a portable gas stove. It was stainless steel from Costco. I think I paid like $200 for it. And I gave it to my neighbors and they're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, because if I ever want to borrow it, I know where it's at. It's across the street. But it's sitting in your garage, not my garage. So get rid of the stuff. Do this for people who are not selling. You just have the home with the 2-car garage. Do this crazy, wacky thing. What is this crazy, wacky thing?
Park your cars inside your garage.
Inside your garage. You got $5,000 worth of junk and you're parking your $40,000 vehicle in the driveway. And then some of you got 3 vehicles and then you're parking one sideways and pissing off all your neighbors because it's making the whole neighborhood look ghetto.
Yeah, I saw that on the next door posting, actually in my neighborhood.
Sorry, if you're parking sideways in the driveway or on your lawn, you need to get rid of a car or do something or whatever.
Or park on the street.
It is not a good look for the neighborhood.
Plenty of street parking.
I know. Right now, all the lawn parkers and the sideways parkers are all pissed off because I'm saying this and they're going to send us some comments on it. And I'm like, hey, it's a reality. I don't know anybody that drives through the neighborhood to buy a home and goes, I noticed a lot of people park sideways in their driveways and on their lawns. I should buy a home in this area. No, nobody's thinking that. They're like, I don't know if I want to buy in this area. So anyway.
Well, I'd like to read a review.
Okay, let's read that review.
From Tranvo.
Yeah.
Adrienne and Attilio gave one of the best training presentations I've had. It's a pleasure working with them as well. What a great team.
Yeah. Back to the vehicles. Here's the facts. We have more registered vehicles than licensed drivers on Oahu.
Yes. And
what does that mean?
And I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm personally guilty.
Because we're getting rid of some vehicles. But I will tell you, take a Zen approach to life and just release so much of our attachment to things. I mean, any neighborhood. I can go into any neighborhood unless it's strictly enforced. And I guarantee you people are holding on to things because all I got to do is find a vehicle with the weeds growing underneath the tires. And that you're attached to things. Now, if you got like some 1-acre lot and you got a 10-car garage and it's all in there, more power to you. But when it starts being something that's observable by your neighborhood or bringing down the values of the area, then I would say that regardless of how you feel about keeping stuff, maybe you should think about getting rid of it for the goodwill of the neighborhood and the community
and for yourself.
And guess what?
Yes.
You can help people who need kidneys by donating your vehicle to Kidneys for Cars. I donated 2 of them. You literally do the paperwork and they come and get it.
I think Habilitat also is doing that same program.
Yeah. But I thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. I got paperwork for the write-off and they're just like, you know what? I took it into service and they're like, oh man, it's going to cost $3,000 to fix the transmission. I'm like, this car is only worth $2,500. Kidneys for Cars. Mm-hmm. And I got a tax write-off and they got something great to help people out there who need a kidney. By the way, we learned about the kidney program at Family Reunion. What did we learn about this thing where that agent indirectly made a donation? Yeah,
and this was a wonderful story.
Yeah.
That a KW associate had heard that there was another KW person that was in another state, another office.
Yeah.
That had been on dialysis and was on the list for a kidney. So he did not know her, but he just felt called and compelled to
donate his kidney to her. And then what did he find out?
Well, they weren't a match.
Yep.
But what he could do was donate his kidney to someone that he was a match to. And what that would do would bump her up on the list, the priority list, and would guarantee her to get that kidney soon. So if you're not a match, you can donate a kidney
and still help that person.
And still help that person in need.
And that person was bumped up the list, and she did get a kidney.
Yes,
and she's doing fine and well.
And
today.
they met, and it was a wonderful story and experience for everyone involved.
But think about it: if you're thinking of doing that, and you're thinking, I'm not going. Like my auntie or my kids or a significant other needs a kidney donation, that is the other way that you can do it, is donate the kidney to the program. And then I don't know what there was a specific term they had for it, but you understand the concept. And I'm sure if you go onto any, nonprofit organization or national organization and just Google it, they'll take you to that and explain to it, and then you go through the process. And he was smart because he didn't go out there and tell anybody or say anything you were doing it, because it's they don't just like, oh, you want to donate your kidney? All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. No, there's like a whole process that you got to go through where
to make sure that you are eligible.
You're healthy.
Yes.
You're eligible. Your kidney's in good shape. And then they don't want to kill you taking your kidney out, and then you're in worse shape. So there's a whole process that you go through. But it was very, very inspirational story. And this is on Sunday for our inspirational last final session for Keller Williams Family Reunion Convention. Thursday morning, inspirational breakfast. Yep. It's always the last day. Last day. Yes. There was another one where a group of agents in a city created a multi-room like transitional housing for people that are having to travel there for medical care. Because a lot of this, I'm experiencing this with my own family, is if we want to go to the mainland or travel somewhere where there's experts in that medical care, then you have the cost of like the hotel cost. That can add up really quickly. Yeah, because let's say you're there for 2 weeks even at $100 a night. Yeah. That's like $3,000 with the taxes and everything like that. And it can be burdensome, let alone whatever else you might be doing for the deductibles. So a lot of good happening out there. And it was a really nice way to end that convention. Yeah. And the question I want to ask everybody, or ask you, Adrienne, we've been in the business, 20 years, running a highly successful team, doing a lot of stuff. We've learned a lot. We know a lot. Why do we still go to this family reunion convention? And it was in Vegas, and I didn't do any gambling whatsoever. So if you're thinking, oh, you went there to go play craps or blackjack. Nope. No, I mean, in the past I have, but this time I said, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And it wasn't like a lot of like late night partying or anything. It was like we were there to learn and grow and connect. And I think just more so to be reminded. Yeah. There was a lot of things that, it was like, oh, we used to do that. Why did we stop doing that? We should start doing that again. And networking with agents all from not only all across the United States, but all around the world. They had agents from China, from Argentina. I saw some Romanians. Yes. 10-hour time difference for those guys. From all over the world. So listen up, folks. If you're an agent, realtors, agents. You're like, what? Is he saying something to me? Yes, we're saying something to you. If you are somewhere where you feel that, I've hit the ceiling on this as far as awareness, knowledge, just what else can I plug into? What else can I learn? I would tell you, give us a call for confidential conversation, 799-9596. You're going to speak directly with Adrienne and myself. And let's start planning this now. If you are an agent of some volume, what is it, 5-10 million? I think for the trip. I think it's 5 million. Ticket. 5 million. If you have 5 million in production, we will pay for your ticket to family reunion. I think it was what, $800? And or I think Mega Camp, which is coming up in August. That one is in Austin, Texas. Yeah. And actually, that's where we had started our journey. We had started at the Mega Camp way back in over 10 years ago was when we joined. And that was we went and we explored and learned a little bit. Yeah, we went there as RE/MAX agents. That's right. And we were invited to be in a room just with Gary Keller and the rest of the agents that were there. And here we are. How many years later? 10 years. 10 years later. And so here's what I would tell you. If 5 million or more in production and you're thinking I just want to check it out because you don't know what you don't know. By the way, who were the two guest speakers at this last Keller Williams convention?
Well, Tony Robbins,
was the keynote.
Yeah, he started us out. And then Mel Robbins, she wrapped us up.
Not related to Tony Robbins, but she's the one that came up with the 5-4-3-2-1. She's got her own talk show podcast, super successful.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
My mom's maiden name, Robbins.
Oh, Robbins.
And that was my middle name.
Okay.
Adrienne Robbins Weatherly.
Okay.
But I'm not related to either one of those Robbins.
Not related to any of them. And then,
no.
Yeah, so they were the keynote speakers, and I tell you, it was such a compelling things and a lot of life. You know, you look at Mel Robbins. I mean, she was like 8 months staying in her bed, couldn't get out of bed, super depressed, ready to go off the deep end. And then she came up with this concept that really turned her life around, and then talked about like literally a veteran on a ferry getting ready to jump over the railing and end it. And then the guy just does this 5-4-3-2-1 and becomes an inspirational story, as well as hundreds of people who have heard this concept. That's what we got to plug into at this Keller Williams convention.
Okay, so we are going to take a break, but stay with us. When we come back, we'll be talking with Aaron Burks from the Burks team in Tyler, Texas. We're going to discuss what is a cost segregation study and who can benefit from it.
Stay with us.
Did you know that Team Lally has a radio show on our sister station, AM 690, FM 94.3, The Answer? Well, it's a good thing Mark was tuned in that day. He had inherited a unit in Y&I and was curious about selling. Of course, he called my friends Adrienne Lally and Attilio Leonardi of Team Lally Real Estate Group of Keller Williams, Honolulu, to come take a look. After seeing the unit, Adrienne and Attilio got to work giving Mark some pre-sale advice. Since they noticed the property needed a little TLC before listing, they got to work immediately. And the home received 2 offers in only a few short weeks and closed. And you know what comes next? Over asking price. When you need to sell your home for the most money with the least amount of drama, trust Adrienne and Attilio of Team Lally to do the job for you. Call 808-799-9596. Again, that's 808-799-9596. Visit teamlally.com, spelled Lally, Lally.
Hey, Sean Hannity here, talking with the only real estate agent in your market I recommend. Adrienne Lally and Attilio Leonardi of Team Lally Real Estate Group of Keller Williams, Honolulu. So now that the market is normalizing again, how's that going to impact home selling right now?
Sean, let's explain what a normal market is. It's when it's neither a buyer or seller market. Both buyers and sellers have equal negotiating strength and need to focus on a win-win strategy to close. We have over 7 highly successful strategies that get homes sold.
So is now the time to sell?
Sean, the best time to sell is when you need to move. Stop trying to time the market. Smart people spending a lot of money try to time the market and fail. Again, the best time to sell is always when you're ready to move.
Great update. Thank you for keeping us informed. Put the most experience and the best marketing to work for you. Call Team Lally now at 799-9596 or online at teamlally.com. That's teamlally.com.
Taking one cash offer for your home doesn't have to be your only option. I'm Barbara Corcoran, and especially in today's current market, having a local real estate agent who offers great marketing and options that are customized to fit your needs is smart. In Honolulu, the agents I trust are Adrienne Lally and Attilio Leonardi. They can give you a guarantee to sell your home, flexible fees, or up to $10,000 in cash to help with repairs. Get the option that's right for you. Go to teamlally.com.
Welcome back, and thanks for listening to the Team Lally Real Estate Show, home of the Guaranteed Sold program, or we'll buy it. I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Attilio.
And if you have any questions, just give us a call at 799-9596 or check us out online at teamlally.com.
Our guest today excels not only in the field of real estate, but also in the world of finance and taxation. He is a real estate broker and certified public accountant based in Texas. He has a Bachelor of Business Administration in Accounting and a Master of Science in Management of Information Systems, both from Texas A&M University.
Beyond his brokerage activities, he passionately engages in consulting work for real estate investors, focusing on tax strategy. Through his CPA firm, Burks CPA PLLC, he specializes in preparing cost segregation studies, offering his clients a unique blend of real estate insight and tax optimization strategies. Please welcome today's guest, Aaron Burks.
He also enjoys a nice glass of red wine, long walks on the beach in the moonlight, and writing poetry. No, I just made that last part up.
A man of many talents.
Maybe you do.
Thanks for the great introduction. I appreciate it.
No, we're very excited to have you on our show. So we know Aaron through a mastermind group that we're a part of, and he had posted in this group all of these things that he has been doing for his family, and then has now branched out to help others. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like we need to learn more about this. We need to use it. We have to spread the word to our clients, to our team, and just welcome to the show. Yeah,
if you're an investor of real estate, this information literally could change your life forever.
Yes, especially with the kind of taxes. The kind of taxes that we are faced here in Hawaii. Like, this is a wonderful strategy.
So our listeners, Aaron, they're like, tell us already. So what is it that we want to talk to you about today?
To get me on the show and talk to your team, which I appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great intro. So I don't want to bore your listeners too much. I try to make tax strategy as exciting as possible, but mostly for real estate investors, we are talking about depreciation, which a lot of people know of depreciation. If you invest in real estate, it's the deduction you get every year when you own a rental property. And 99% of people do it the easy way. Your CPA is probably telling you to do it the easy way. And the easy way is depreciating that rental property over 27 years if it's a residential property, 39 years if it's a commercial property.
Gotcha.
So it's going to take a while to depreciate. So what we're talking about and what my firm does is produce cost segregation studies, and that is a strategy to accelerate that depreciation so you don't have to wait 27 years.
So you're hitting nitrous oxide on that.
So extra depreciation right up front.
Yes, and it's important to note, it's accelerated depreciation. It doesn't add more depreciation. So, if you own this property for 27 and a half years, you're going to have the same amount of depreciation, but the quicker you can get it, the faster you can get to deductions. You always want to accelerate deductions. In effect, it's an interest-free loan from the government, which is always great. So getting it early in the process and hopefully reinvesting those savings into maybe new properties or other investments.
You do it into the new properties, and then you do it again. You just keep rinsing and repeating.
What we wanted to do was have you on the show to speak to the investor we want them to add, everybody knows about the 1031, but we wanted to add this additional strategy of accelerated cost segregation to the conversation, because that's when you have the conversation with them, right? In the beginning, when we're looking at the new property?
Yeah, so when they're purchasing the property is when you cost segregate. So you're going to, say you buy a rental property, you want to pick a strategy. So strategy one, the easy method is the 27 and a half years. And how I like to think of it is, and this is how the IRS looks at it, is with the regular method, you're buying one house. So say you buy a house. I'm going to use Texas numbers here. This isn't Hawaii numbers.
Just double them for Hawaii.
But you can, but Aaron, you can help anyone anywhere in the United States.
Correct? For sure. I'm just saying on my round numbers, let's say you buy a rent house for $200,000. I'm not sure how many $200,000 houses there are in Honolulu, but
we got parking stalls for that.
There you go. So let's say you buy a house for $200,000. You can take that 27 and a half years. You're buying one house for $200,000. You're going to depreciate over 27 and a half years. A cost segregation study, the other strategy, I would say aggressive, but that almost sounds bad, but it's not bad. The other strategy, what it does is it does an analysis on the property and splits it up into a bunch of different components. So instead of you buying one house for $200,000, you're buying, a slab foundation, wood for the framing, if it has wood framing, appliances, flooring, HVAC, plumbing system, electric. You're buying all these things that total up to $200,000.
Yes.
And so it's doing that analysis to break it up. And then the reason you can accelerate the depreciation is some of those components have shorter lives than 27 and a half years. A good chunk absolutely has 27 and a half years. So there's no accelerating that chunk of it. But a good chunk of it, like your vinyl flooring, your appliances, specialty lighting, that sort of thing, has a 5-year life.
Well, Aaron, I want to note that we've been in homes where everything is exactly the same. They got avocado appliances, they got the pink shag carpet, and they're still watching the Brady Bunch. So I just want to say, and that's just a joke.
But in general, what he's saying, for these cost seg studies, that is, the shelf life that we can get to it.
Yeah, not to be throwing all their people's CPAs under the bus. This is the part that you're talking about right now should be done by a specialist like you.
Don't just go out and Google it.
Study.
You have to have a CPA, someone who has specialized knowledge to
in
do
cost
this.
segregation.
Yes.
But continue on what you're describing.
The idea, CPA firms will know what this is. If you went to your CPA and said, "Hey, I want to cost segregate this new rental property," they've heard of that. They're familiar generally. They're typically not quick to recommend it, so that's why a lot of people have no idea this exists. Because they're like, "Why is my CPA not mentioned it?" And I was like, "Well, don't
kill them.
Get super mad at them. It's very, very common. Because they're not real estate experts. They're CPAs.
Yes.
The IRS has said that because some CPA firms started doing it, they just kind of like, you buy property, I'll do it. And they just kind of run some numbers, quick numbers, kind of throw something together. And the IRS, most CPA firms stopped doing it about 4 or 5 years ago because the IRS released some somewhat strict guidance. And most of it was around, hey, this is less of a CPA thing and more of a real estate and construction thing.
Yeah.
So CPA part of it, obviously knowing tax law is part of it, but it's not only CPA. It's not just knowing tax law. So from my perspective, I'm a CPA that focuses 100% in real estate. So we do construction, remodeling, property management, and I'm a CPA that works in that industry. So I had both sides.
And then,
so that's why
Aaron,
I focus on producing these reports.
And you personally practice this cost segregation as part of your guys' strategy.
Your family's real estate portfolio.
How many investment properties does your family own?
So we're at probably as of now 150 units.
Wow.
Owned, and that I think last year we. Let's see, probably 12 to 15 that were kept. We do an instant offer program. I'm not sure if y'all do something similar, but we flip, some we buy, so it's kind of tough to keep track of. But we cost segregate them all.
Nice.
I want our listeners to know that you are practicing what you preach, and this is something that you guys have been doing for years.
You didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night and get up this morning and we're like, I think I'm going to do some cost segregation. No,
this is something you've been doing personally.
Trying to, and that's the thing with this. Yeah. If you Google cost segregation, you are going to find some websites that you spend money and they spit out some computer generated report.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they even have a disclaimer on there that says something like, this is an estimate of cost segregation, not to replace a
true study.
Real. And it's one of those things that, you can type it into your tax return and it's going to work till it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's so the IRS has gotten strict on, this is what we view a quality study to be, and trying to meet as many of those criteria as we can. And really, that's the way it works. You get the study done, you give it to your CPA, the CPA types it in your tax return. You don't send it to IRS, you don't send it anywhere. If you were to get audited, it would be just like any other support, like a receipt.
Supporting document.
A supporting document. You're going to give it to them, they're going to review it, and they're going to evaluate that report based on their guidance. So making sure it's a quality study is very key, and making sure that the reviewer is competent is very key. And that's why, Adrienne, you just asked if we do commercial, and I said, I don't, because I'm not competent in commercial, or at least not as competent as I need.
Yeah.
Well, he's not as much as I feel I need, because all of my experiences in residential, whether it be construction, remodeling, all of the costs, commercial has different cost structures.
Yes.
As soon as we run out of residential homes, you'll move over to commercial, which will be never, right? Not in your lifetime, because there'll be tons of these to do.
Unless his family starts investing in commercial stuff.
No, because he read the book called The One Thing. You'll hire somebody to do that, and he'll be even more of an expert with residential. But keep going, Aaron.
Because that's just why I want to be. I would never want to do something that jeopardizes my client. I would never want the IRS to look at one of my reports and start questioning and be like, well, what? Does he have experience in commercial? Does he and to question it? Yes. And I want to be able to stand on my own. And I'm very confident in the residential construction, the residential remodeling, cost type stuff that's common in the industry, especially for rental homes. So that's kind of the reasoning. But that's a big part of the IRS guidance is competency of the making sure the person doing it is knowledgeable enough to where they're confident that the numbers are reasonable.
Mm-hmm. So, Aaron, the investors that we're speaking to, that we're targeting, that need to listen, is anyone who bought an investment property in 2023 and maybe even potentially 2022 if they're willing to amend those returns.
Is that as far back as we can go?
So you can go back further, and a lot of people ask that, can I go back further? It's complicated. So if I think we'll give out my contact information. If someone has any questions, feel free to go through that. If your CPA can do it, there is a method. It's a form that most CPAs probably haven't filled out very much because it's pretty rare. But there is an avenue to do it. Going back 1 year, as long as you haven't filed the new year. So you mentioned 2022. If you have not filed your 2023 taxes, it would be very easy to amend your 2022.
Okay.
But once you file a subsequent year, it becomes a little more complicated because now you got multiple years to deal with. But
got it.
So anything 2022, 2023, in the big winners in this, and I don't think we have time to go into all the different IRS things, but. It's only going to be able to offset, because what this does, the effective end of this is for these properties you're buying, since you're accelerating all this depreciation, you're going to take a really big loss on that property you bought in year one, because you're not going to have much income. Maybe you bought it in September and rented it out for 4 months. So you have a few rental months, but then you're going to take this huge loss or a huge deduction.
Yes.
So you're going to have a big negative. So it's important. The IRS has a lot of rules around passive losses. And so the people that will benefit the most and get the tax savings immediately are people with other passive income that they can offset. Because if you don't have any passive income that you can offset, the IRS has restrictions on if you can use that loss to offset your active income. And the IRS, by active income, they're meaning like your day-to-day stuff. Like if you're a
W-2 stuff.
If you're a doctor, your W-2 income. They don't let you cross over that. So there's two kinds of people. The first, real estate professionals can offset their active income. I call that the Donald Trump tax
return.
So, Donald Trump, everyone gave him a hard time about his taxes. This is what he did. He was just doing it on skyscrapers instead of single-family houses, but you can do it on a single-family house.
Yeah.
So he's taken these big losses. Well, since he's a real estate professional, he can offset all of his income with it. That's why he pays no taxes in a lot of those tax returns he released.
Yes.
Not everybody can do that. So the second group of people that really benefit are people with other passive income, not stocks. We're talking about really other rentals. And you could even go into other passive income type rental, like an oil and gas partnership. Might not be big in Hawaii. It's big in Texas, though. So if someone's got oil and gas, a passive interest, not active interest in oil and gas, but they invest in cattle and they invest in oil and gas and they invest in real estate. So they have a lot of passive income. Well, you can offset that passive income with these big losses. So a person that would really, really be a perfect candidate is someone that has other rentals that maybe they've owned for several years.
Yes.
Because a lot of times those other rentals that you've owned for several years, they're posting big gains. Maybe someone's got 5 houses making $5,000 a year on average. So that's $25,000 Well, buying one house and cost segregating, it's going to take a loss that wipes away that $25,000 and potentially more.
Or you could not do this and just pay Uncle Sam all the taxes on that passive income.
You would pay Uncle Sam the taxes on the passive income, exactly. So that would be the alternative that we would want to avoid. And if you do exceed your passive income, and you're I got $30,000 passive income, but I'm going to take this big $50,000 loss. It rolls forward to the future years.
Carry over.
You're going to get the benefit.
Carryover.
Yeah.
So if you don't use it all,
carry over.
It's not use it or lose it.
Exactly. So you just have to make sure that you take care of the future year's income. So it's not goes to loss, but when we're talking the big numbers, year one, kind of a huge tax benefit, you just want to make sure you can actually realize it. And then the third category, I'll say this, and I don't even think I said this on y'all's team meeting that I presented to, but short-term rentals. So short-term rentals, and I'm not sure if Hawaii is big with that or how much y'all regulate over there, but
we got a few.
There's quite a few short-term rentals scattered throughout the islands.
Yeah.
Well, short-term rentals, if you meet IRS guidelines on what is a short-term rental, those are not passive income. They're active. They're not considered like a rental property. They're considered a business as short-term. So it's almost like you own a hotel, not a rental property in the traditional sense.
Yes.
So those you can offset W-2 income in year one because it's considered an active business. So now just make sure with your CPA, because again, I don't prepare the taxes. I don't give specific tax advice on like someone's specific return. Yeah. Because I'm just doing the cost segregation report. So I just want to make sure you don't get my report. They give us their CPA and type it in and nothing changes because they don't meet the criteria. So, it depends on if you have a management company for your short-term rental and a lot of different tests. But ask your CPA if you qualify and if a cost segregation study would benefit you. But short-term rentals, if you self-manage and make sure you spend the amount of time that the IRS requires, you could use that to offset your day-to-day income.
So Aaron, why don't a lot of investors follow this strategy? What's been your experience when you come across new clients?
And the CPA is not mentioning it, right?
Well, CPAs aren't mentioning it. Real estate agents aren't mentioning it.
Because they don't know.
It's kind of like realtors are very quick to say, don't give tax advice, don't talk about it. I was like, well, you can talk about it generally. Yeah. But one, real estate people don't know about it, and CPAs don't bring it up. And it's relatively new. It's been around forever for the Donald Trumps of the world. Yes. It's been around forever for commercial new developments. Trump's tax law in 2017 is what expanded it to non-new construction properties, like new to you, but not new construction, just buying a rent house from someone else.
Yeah.
So that was just 2017 that it expanded into it. So it's still relatively new. And his tax law essentially brought it to the everyday investor. This is, not just for, the commercial, new construction, commercial developments, which are typically kind of your real financial guys are handling that. So they've heard of it. And so they're kind of secret. But this is for, people, if you're a real estate investor that's buying single family or duplexes or any real property, and you've got a couple of them, like I mentioned earlier, it's for people that have multiple rentals benefit the most. Yeah. Because they can wipe away all their other income.
Yeah.
So Aaron, with all the savings, this sounds like this cost segregation study would be very expensive. Mm-hmm. And, let's speak to that. Like, how attainable is this for, your typical real estate investor?
To do this report.
So for a single family home, I charge $695.
Wow.
There you go.
And a lot of it gets, and I don't do it based on how much it costs. I do have some reasonable caps on, I'm probably not going to do like a $3 million house, but your kind of more traditional rentals, homes, that's my price. Multifamily, like small multifamily has a little bit higher, but still very reasonable. Yes. I don't base my compensation on tax savings. That's another thing the IRS looks at.
Yes.
On a quality study, well, it's like, are you basically working on contingency? Because then it encourages the person that's making the report to fluff the numbers as much as possible.
Yes.
So I don't do that. But I'm trying to get it as accurate as possible. Make sure my compensation's not tied to specific. And then that's why CPA is not supposed to do that in general. your CPA, if your CPA is charging based on how big of a refund that you're getting, they're breaking some IRS guidelines for sure. But try to be very reasonable. And my goal is just long term. I'm in the beginning stages of this, but long term, I want to kind of make this a closing cost for real estate investors. This is just something you do when you buy a rental property to get some tax benefits up front, and then roll it forward to the next one potentially, and it kind of becomes a snowball.
Well, we had you on the show because we want to typically, this is probably a standard conversation at the High Mucky Muck Country Club, but we want to bring it to the neighborhood clubhouse that you rent out for your baby's first birthday, and maybe you don't own some 40-unit high-rise, but maybe you own a couple of investment properties, and you just want to build a little bit of wealth for your family and
have a strategy
your heirs.
Have a strategy to continue to build that wealth. And by getting this tax savings, you get that down payment for the next investment property.
Yeah, and reduce that passive income taxes.
On you get this big tax benefit. Well, a lot of times, if you're leveraging when you purchase, you get in a loan, a lot of times the tax benefits, if you can realize 100% of the deductions, a lot of times it's a good chunk of the down payment that you just put down on the property.
Yes.
So, might not be all of it, but if instead of say you're putting 20% out on the property, well, if you can get 8 to 10% back as part of this strategy, that you just put half down, half as much as you were planning, and it gets you halfway to the next one.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about when it's mentioned snowballing.
Gotcha. Well, awesome strategy. And like you said, I think a lot of people get wary of hearing something and thinking, well, I've never heard of that before. Well, just like you said, you've never heard about it before because you're not rubbing elbows with, the big commercial developers down at the $100,000 piece membership country club. But
and this is something that's newer as of 2017, making it available to the everyday kind of investors.
Yeah.
So
maybe with the introduction to Aaron, we can help you do a Donald Trump on your taxes.
That's right.
That would be great. Probably a lot lower numbers overall, but still get the same result maybe.
Yeah, he had a couple extra zeros on the end of his tax return, but it's the same now. We had talked about it on our show. Gary Keller had us read the book called Unlimited Power
by Tony Robbins.
And fast forward to today, how human beings develop power. And I don't mean like Dr. Evil taking over the world, but I mean just accumulating wealth to pass on and have a succession plan. And this is what he said. It was specialized knowledge.
And that's what Aaron has.
And that is what Aaron has brought to our listeners today is some specialized knowledge. I would say the worst thing that could happen to anybody hearing this information and you spoke to Aaron, I think the worst thing that could happen is that you would say to yourself, I wish I knew about this sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Have a conversation.
And I'll just say I'm quick to tell people I'm happy to give out my contact information. And a lot of times I've had several people call me and they're like, here's my situation. I'll say, look, you're really not going to benefit from it.
Yes.
And just with the way your tax situation is, you're not going to benefit much. So I'm not going to sell you something you're not going to be able to get benefit from because that doesn't help me.
No snake oil here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have someone like you on our show and be, shouting to our community about this wonderful strategy if that was the way
if we didn't believe in you and it's the awesome reputation of your family, having known you guys group for many, many years. The other thing is Adrienne and I will be doing this personally ourselves. And so
we're looking forward to buying a residential property, Aaron, so that you can cost segregate it for us.
And giving you a first in hand Aaron Burks testimonial. That you can, I forgot what show it was, and you can take that to the bank.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Aaron. Was there any questions that we should have asked or situations or stories that you wanted to share that we didn't go over?
Maybe a success story.
Yeah.
Could you share an example of a success story before we let you go?
Yeah.
So the last report, I don't have the numbers in front of me. The last group of reports I did was for a client with 3 properties, and the big thing that really helped him was what we talked about a little bit earlier about amending his 2022 tax return.
Nice.
Because what he said was like, oh man, I bought 2 properties last year, and I mentioned cost segregation to my CPA, and he didn't know anyone that did it, so we didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would ask him if he can amend. It's not a big deal. And he talked to his CPA, and CPA was like, yes, definitely, we will amend. We will. And his CPA didn't charge him. I'm not sure if most, but he's like, we'll do it. No big deal. Like, if you have cost segregation, it's definitely a good idea. So that was just a slam dunk for him, because it's when you file that amended tax return, you get a refund on the tax return you filed last year.
Yeah.
So it's just great. He had 2 properties, and not big properties either. I mean, these were multifamily properties and not like really high end or anything. I think they're in the 200,000. So it doesn't have to be big properties. Another person just recently asked, what's too small to make it worth it? And I was thinking she was going to say, like, she bought some $70,000 house. Well, she was talking about $200,000 house. So definitely, definitely doable at a moderate level. So, amending the 2022 tax returns, I was really, it's a good idea, helped him out. And, I was glad to be able to help him.
Yeah. And in Hawaii, Aaron, as you know, I mean, with condos and stuff, 500,000, single family homes, about a million. Mm-hmm. About a million. So, it's like you're a doctor and you know about penicillin. And then I'm a patient that's like, everybody around me dies from infections. What's this penicillin mumbo jumbo? No, you just didn't know about it. And then you took the shot and you didn't die. And I don't think you've killed anybody with a cost segregation yet, right?
But saved them a lot of taxes.
But you saved them a lot of taxes.
Not that I know of, but I haven't heard from those people, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Maybe they tripped on the way to the mailbox with their big tax refund and sprained an ankle. That was the worst. But anyway. All right.
Well, we are coming to the end of our show, Aaron, and we just really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Your time and knowledge, your specialized knowledge. And let's give out your contact info.
Yeah. Is it the 903 number?
Sure, yes. My cell phone, I give out my cell phone. It's 903-316-1913 is my cell.
Okay.
And my email, if you'd like to email, is Aaron, AARON, at TylerHouseHunters.com.
All right. And we'll have that on our website also. And we'll have you on the show for the second date update.
That's right.
When we buy a property and actually do this.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All righty.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and thank you to our sponsors.
Jody and Derek of Pacific Rim Mortgage.
Bradley of Allstate Insurance.
Kenji with Pillar to Post Home Inspections.
John with Kilauea Pest Control.
Duke with Hawaii Pacific Property Management.
Robinson of Fine Line Paintwork.
Jake with the Go Local Power.
Scott of Zero Res Hawaii.
Amphi with Estate Planning Group.
Jason Wu, Attorney at Law.
Jeff of the Loan Depot.
Rhino of Hawaii Unified.
Janice with Dream House Drafting. If you want to get a hold of any of our sponsors, it's so easy. Just go to teamlally.com.
We also want to give a big thank you to Leah Rodriguez, our producer here in the studio.
She's awesome.
Make sure to tune in next week. We'll have an awesome guest talking about something that'll change your life
forever. This is the Team Lally Real Estate Show, home of the guaranteed
sold program. If we can't sell your home at the agreed upon price in our time frame, we'll have it bought for cash.
Thanks and aloha.